All right, let's get started. Okay, today we are talking about the new event reporting and alerting that's available through the console and how to set those up. So first to note is here under the widgets, there is a new events section. So if you add a widget, you can choose events as the reporting type for the data source. And you can see all the events that occur. And this is going to be the same thing that's under history and events. So you can always look there also if you need to decide what kind of events are useful for you. In this case, you can see I logged in to the console, people logged in, logged out, but you can also see the different application installed, application uninstalled. That's a really good one that some people are interested in. So we're going to look at how to set that up. And you can also do event type is application installed. You can hit apply and you can see here Technical's MacBook Pro installed absolute secure endpoint, installed 6sense responder, installed Notepad. So this looks like a new device. So you can look through events that way. Another way to look at this is to alert on that. So you would come over to policies and rules. And for this, you're going to have to use an alert rule. And we'll say uninstalled. So if application uninstalled, under here, you can narrow it down to the application name. So instead of changed, you can say application name contains, say, Schoology or ClassLink. So in this case, I'm just going to say Outlook uninstalled. And then you can say, I want to email myself. You can also email other people that are, if they're in the console, you'll see them here. And if they're not, you can just type in the distribution list. So, my IT team at myedu.org and add that. And then it'll email them every time this particular application is uninstalled. So you can do this on all active devices. You could exclude, say, staff devices by having a device group set up for them. And then you could save and activate. And then also under the events, there is a delete all files if that has been requested, or a system memory has been added or removed. So again, you'll come to alerts and you'll say when these events trigger, and it is system memory. So a good one on that, I think, is to report on the serial number. So if the system memory is removed and the serial number changes, you would be alerted on this. Under that, you can look at the ID, you can look at the manufacturer or the slot, but let's just do the serial number changes. Save and activate. And again, if you want to know the different types of events, you can come here to history and events. So you can see non-compliant devices. You can see someone installed Microsoft OneDrive or they updated Google Chrome. So there's lots of different ways you can use this. Uninstalled Notepad, uninstalled Windows Security. So those will trigger alerts if you set them up that way. You can also see on the dashboards, since events is a new type, if you need to audit, so the event is unfreeze. So maybe you want to know how many times somebody unmasked the unfreeze code, or freeze removed by passcode, or firmware freeze removed by passcode. So you can set it to those filters. And I would recommend using this, and then you can set it for up to the last year is the amount of data we have retained. So you can see how many times this was unfrozen. If you make it 1 bar, then it gives you a little more granularity there. You can say monthly, the last 90 days, and it'll give you a graph over May, June, July, August for the last 90 days. You can see how many devices had their freeze removed. You can also say, I want to filter by user, and you can see how many times that particular person requested unfreezes. So you can see it is 6 items there. So let's come from July 1st to August 1st. So that's like a school year, right? Again, good for audits. You can see how many people were adding and removing freezes over the course of a year, if that's something you need to see. Now, again, this is the event. So maybe you want to see how many times a passcode has been used, and then you would just add to the dashboard down here. So again, this is something you might want to see for auditing purposes, but just to see an overall picture of how many devices have been frozen and unfrozen, this is the normal type that we see over a school year. So this is just devices, and you will limit this by device is frozen as yes. And in this case, we're just wanting to see these particular device groups. Maybe you just want to see them for elementary schools versus middle school versus high school versus staff. We just want to see those. You can look at the series of device group and see for each of these device groups how many times that event took place. So in this case, you can see the majority of the freezes happened in high school, a few in elementary school, and some in middle school. There's no staff here, and it looks like we just started capturing this data in February, so that's going to depend on when it was turned on for you. So since we're just counting the months where nothing happened, you can get a better representation. We have been collecting this information as long as you have it turned on. So you can see in this case, since we're saying device is frozen, this is for devices that are still frozen. You can see some of these connected 3, 2, or a year ago. So if you want a particular action and when that occurred, then you're going to use the event, because that's going to be when that event actually occurred, as opposed to how many devices you currently have frozen. Make sense? Okay, awesome. So yeah, that can help you get a ROI on how many times you're freezing devices. It can help you figure out how many devices go missing for a particular school and are frozen as a result and get reported back. So you can compare freeze versus unfreeze events, that sort of thing, over the course of a school year and see how much you're using it. Also, while we're here, if you go to a Windows device, although you can look at this on anything, this usage tab will be going away. So in case you've never looked at this before, this lets you know, like, if a device has gone to sleep, if someone's logged in or locked the device. It shows you that, as well as how many minutes of active activity there are. So you can see log out, sleep, unlock, and the person associated with that, and how many minutes of usage per day they are averaging. You can also export this for up to the last year. So this will be going away just because it has moved to the history page. And this is because as you are looking at a device that might have been compromised, it makes sense to look at all this information as one bigger picture. So it says the AV product change. So did somebody unlock the device at 4:52 a.m. and then change the antivirus? Yes. So you can see what happened at the time that it happened. You can also see the device username was updated. You can see it was updated from desktop sanely to desktop Doden. It helps you see if events that have happened, like the public IP address was updated when the device woke up, which makes sense, right? So clearly that means they've moved possibly to a different location. So you might see a location change here as well. You can see the agent version was updated. So again, it just gives you an overall bigger picture. So when you're looking at those security events, you can make a better determination as to whether it's a bad actor or not. Any questions? Okay, and then finally, for those of you who have the Lenovo supervisor password configuration on your devices, we've got some new features there and a new event as well. You can see events for the supervisor configuration was requested, or the supervisor configuration succeeded or failed, or the removal was requested, succeeded, or failed. All right.